Hey guys, this is Smithy. Welcome to my channel. Today is yet another eyeshadow palette related video, which I'm all excited for. So today we're going to discuss about our top 3 eyeshadow palettes in every category. I had done like a similar video of top 3 products in every makeup category, but this is going to be super exciting because I love eyeshadow palettes, as you guys know. So without further ado, let's dive right into the video. So the first category that I wanted to try is neutral palettes. And for the neutral palettes, I have 3 with me. First one, which is not available anymore, and that would be ABH Sultry palette. Whenever I have to go for like a cool tone look, this is the palette that I go for. I mean, I absolutely love this palette. There's no doubt in like formulation, the pigmentation, it just looks so glam when you have this on your eyes. I absolutely love this. So this would be my first pick. The second pick, you guys could definitely guess what it is, and that would be my Dominique's Cosmetics Latte palette. I absolutely love this palette for everyday look, for neutral looks, for colorful. I mean, this is a beautiful neutral color story. This is the color story that I can go for in my everyday life. I mean, purples and oranges are like my comfort zone. The only outside my comfort zone would be this blue, but this is nothing to be scared of. It's such a muted blue that you can implement this anywhere in your look and you'll be absolutely comfortable. I love this palette. So definitely this is going to be my second pick. And the last pick under the neutral category would be my Alter Ego Sahara palette. I cannot even tell you how many times do I dip into this palette, and because of the color story, the pigmentation, the blendability is absolutely stunning. If you guys were eyeing Natasha Denona's Bieber palette, this is an absolute dupe for that palette, and I cannot complain even about the pigmentation. I love to have this in my everyday stash. This is the one that I go for my office looks, and I absolutely love it. I'm glad that this is in my collection. This doesn't look cheap by any means. I mean, this is only like $16, but this performs like high-end palettes. I absolutely love it. Now, the next category that we're going to talk about is monochromatic palettes. Now, out of the palettes that I have in my collection, I would say the best of the best would be Dirty Martini palette from Glamlight, and this is their green palette. Now, you guys know I'm not a green wearer, but this palette is absolutely stunning. The shimmers are absolutely spectacular. The matte is so easily blendable. This gives so much of dimension. Me being not a green lover, although I'm wearing green on my eyes, I know, I'll come to that. One of my favorite palettes of 2021, but yes, this is definitely one of my favorite monochromatic palettes that I have in my collection, and that's saying a lot. The next palette that I have to talk about is again from Alter Ego, and it is their Canyon palette. Now, this is a bronze lover's dream. If you are into bronzes, this is the palette that you need to have in your collection. This is my favorite palette from Alter Ego in general, just because I am like a bronze person. I love to wear bronzes, coppers on my eye, and these shadows, the formulation is spectacular. I love it. I have never gone with an eye look using this palette that I've not loved. I absolutely love this palette. Definitely a must have in your collection if you love bronzes. This is the palette for you. The last, but certainly not the least, the last monochromatic palette that I absolutely love is from ABH, and this is their Novena 5 palette. Now again, I am a purple lover. Like bronzes and purples are my tones. And if you love purples, you need to have in this collection. I know a lot of you guys out of my recommendation went ahead and bought this palette and you are absolutely loving it. I cannot even tell you how much I love this, just because like I'm just head over heels with this palette. I know I got this for a sale price and I cannot regret one bit. I love it. Absolutely love it. The next category that I'm going to talk about is indie brands. Indie brands that you need to try. The first indie brand that you need to try is It's Belle Cosmetics, and this is the eyeshadow that you're watching on my eyes today. I use Flare Collection Remix palette. I have this on my inner third of my eye. I have this right in the center of my eyelid and this on the outer corners, and I just blend it out with some neutral brown shades in my crease. And that is my eye look. The It's Belle Cosmetics eyeshadows are stunning. They're absolutely spectacular. They are like So dimensional. Let me just swatch a few from both the palettes actually. Like, look at that. This is so lightweight, but it gives such beautiful duochromes and shimmers. I mean, it's just stunning, absolutely stunning. I cannot even tell you enough good things about this. I'm eyeing their fall palette. What is that called? Dawn of Fall, the Fall of Dawn, something like that. I'm eyeing their palette. They've not released this yet, but they are teasing it for like now 2 months, I think. But I cannot wait for that. The second indie brand that I really want you guys to try, if you've not tried already, is Sydney Grace. And this is their Tiny Marvels palette, which was created by Mel Thompson. So many good memories. And Mel did like an absolute fabulous job with this palette. And now we have a palette to remember Mel all throughout our life. And I love the color story. I love the shades. I love the blendability. Absolutely a stunning palette. If you've not tried it already, I would highly recommend you guys to try Tiny Marvels palette from Sydney Grace. And the last brand that I really want you guys to try is JD Glow. If you guys were eyeing the Pat McGrath Blitz Astral formulas, but you didn't want to invest in $125 for the Pat McGrath eyeshadow palette, I would highly recommend JD Glow shadows. And it is all these big pan eyeshadows that you're seeing on the palette. Absolutely spectacular, I would say. Let me swatch a few for you guys. It's just absolutely stunning. I have a dedicated video like swatching, playing with all these eyeshadows. Like, I don't know if the camera can capture it or not, but these are like spectacular. Absolutely wonderful. It's so sparkly. It's just all things goodness. I cannot. You need it. You absolutely need it. And I know for a fact that JD Glow shadows are going to be on a sale for 35% or 40% on Black Friday. Do not miss that option and then grab a few eyeshadows. I would highly recommend these shadows. This is Unexpected. I have Anomaly. I have Sin, Good God, and Peachy Keen. Beautiful eyeshadows, and look at the pan size. I mean, these are all like full pan size of like Colourpop and Ofra and Sydney Grace, and these are like JD Glow shadows, like the big daddy of all the eyeshadows. Highly would recommend this. The next category that I want to talk about is the best color story, and I could easily pick out more, but I narrowed it down to this. And the first palette that I want to tell you guys about is Anastasia Beverly Hills Jackie Aina palette. This is like my love. I absolutely love the color story. This is like my comfort zone. When I never used to play with colors, this is the shadow palette that helped me to get into colors, and I cannot stop now. I love the pinky tones, the reds, the purples, the greens, the neutral tones. Everything is absolutely spectacular, and the formula is stunning. Absolutely stunning. Love it. The second eyeshadow palette that I have to talk about is Corda Rosa palette from Sigma. And this, oh my god, I have used this so much. I love the color story. Again, this is like a spring palette for me, in my opinion. But I use this all the time. The topper shades are stunning. The shimmers are spectacular. The mattes are so blendable and buildable. Absolutely love it. You need to have Sigma in your collection if you've not tried it already. Again, this is the best palette to snag up on the eyeshadow palette, especially when Black Friday is coming around the corner. Definitely get a hold of it. The last eyeshadow palette that I have to talk about is from Pat McGrath, and it is their Celestial Odyssey palette. And this color story is absolutely beautiful. This was like my #1 favorite last month, and because of the color story. I love each and every shadow that is placed in here. You can do so much with this eyeshadow palette. I cannot even say. With the subtle looks to the glam looks to the smoky looks, everything under the sun can be achieved with this palette. Love it. Now the next category would be my best small eyeshadow palette collection. And this I did not have to think twice because I exactly knew what to pick. The first eyeshadow palette that I have to talk about is Pat McGrath's Sublime palette, and this is their Eye Ecstasy palette. I cannot even tell you how much have I done with this eyeshadow palette. This again is like a bronze lover's dream. This is like a beautiful duochrome with like red and like a maroon to a green. I love this eyeshadow palette. If you've never tried Pat McGrath before, I would highly recommend you to try this one. And this is like $13-14 on their website. Grab it and you would know what Pat McGrath is all about. The next eyeshadow palette that I have to talk about is from Nabla, and it is the Cutie palette in platinum. Now again, this is beautiful for like a cool tone lover. I love to apply this. You can do so much with this palette. Like these 6 shadows can take you to places, and I love it. The dimension is absolutely spectacular. It's stunning. I know that there are only 2 mattes, but these can work like a crease shade, a transition shade, and a deepening shade at the same time. These are so blendable and so buildable. You will not be disappointed. If you can grab it at like a sale price, I would highly recommend you to do that. And the last eyeshadow palette in the small category, I would say, is from Half Cake Beauty, and this is Your Eyes Only palette. If you are like a neutral person and you also love pinks, this is the palette for you, and I think you will not be disappointed at all. This is absolutely stunning. I have like review on all these palettes on my channel, so I would highly recommend you guys to check this out if you've not already. I absolutely love the quality. I recently did a look on the channel using this palette. I will link it in the iCards above if you've not checked it out already. And I think there was like a Diwali look that I created using this palette. Next category is the best colorful palettes. And I personally feel that in general, Juvia's Place does like best colorful palettes. I just picked out one just because I just wanted to show you guys. And this is their mini masquerade palette. And they do like colors like no other. This is like an affordable palette, but it's so blendable, so buildable. It's just stunning. If you guys have not tested Juvia's Place before, you should definitely test it out. You will not be disappointed at all. Look at the pigmentation. It's stunning on the eyes, absolutely stunning. And I know Juvia's Place is difficult to get, but because Ulta carries it, I think now it's more accessible, and I would highly recommend you guys to just test out their eyeshadows. I would say any size. They have like a 6-pan eyeshadow palette. They have like bigger eyeshadow palettes, but they're so affordable and they're so good. You would love it, absolutely love it. Now, one of the favorite eyeshadow palettes with the best color story, I would say, is Too Faced Pumpkin Spice palette. I love this color story. I mean, again, I feel like this is like Pat McGrath's Celestial Odyssey palette, but in a different color story. You can do like a plethora of look using this palette. I absolutely love to apply this in the fall season. And if I could create a palette in the fall, I think majority of these shadows would be in that palette, and I could not ask for more from a Too Faced palette, I would say. And this is definitely one of my favorite Too Faced palette that they've ever come out with. So that's how much I love this. The last colorful palette that I would highly recommend you guys, if you can get your hands on it, would be Colourpop's At Forest Sight palette. And I know a lot of you guys do have this palette, and the color story is absolutely stunning. I know this is a matte heavy palette with only 2 shimmers, but the mattes that she's put in this palette, it's so unique. I do not have these kind of mattes in other palettes. I mean, this is the only row which is like very common, I would say, but rest all the mattes are like a little different with the undertones, and I love to play with this palette again in fall and winter season. I definitely love this palette. Now, the next category that we're going to talk about is big palettes. Definitely one of them would be Anastasia's Norvina palette. I did not want to repeat, but it would not be fair if I do not recommend this palette in this category, because that's how much I love this. So that's the first palette. The second palette that I would highly recommend is Colourpop's So Jaded palette. Now, I know that you cannot find this palette right now on their website, but I also know that they have something called Play It Jewel palette, which is like a play off out of this palette. And so I would highly recommend that palette if the quality is the same, which I have heard from a lot of YouTubers, which is, I would highly recommend that palette. So I definitely wanted to recommend this palette. But this palette is absolutely spectacular. If you guys do have this palette, get it out. I mean, I love this palette. The last palette that I have to recommend to you guys, and one of the best big palettes that I have in my collection, is Morphe Jaclyn Hill palette. And this is the original palette that she launched with Morphe. I think Jaclyn knows her stuff in the eyeshadow category, even in the highlighter category. I mean, I have not been disappointed with this palette at all. And I've used the heck out of this palette. I just love this palette so much. And Ulta does sales all the time on Morphe. And I recently saw this palette for like $22, $23 on their website. Would highly recommend this at that price. I also picked it out like at a 50% off. Morphe does sales as well as Ulta does sales. So pick out wherever you want to say, but you need this palette for sure. Now the next category is the best affordable brands, and I would definitely recommend 3 brands to you if you're looking for affordable palettes. First would be Colourpop. Colourpop does a lot of color story. Whatever calls out to you, I don't think you can be disappointed with this. This is called It's My Pleasure palette. Just because I'm a purple lover, I'm going to show you a purple palette, but they have so many eyeshadows under the sun. You would not be disappointed at all with Colourpop. The second brand that I would highly recommend is LA Girl. Now I would say definitely go with like 9-pan eyeshadow palette or 16-pan eyeshadow palette from LA Girl. Those are the ones that have like the best quality. And I love this palette, and this is in the shade Playmate, and this is in the Keep It Playful line. Absolutely would recommend this over any other drugstore palettes for sure. The last brand that I would highly recommend is BH Cosmetics. If you're looking for affordable palettes, you need to try BH Cosmetics, especially the ones that come in square pans. Those formulation is absolutely spectacular. This is Beautiful in Barcelona palette. I've done again a look using this palette on my channel, and this can go to places. It's such a beautiful fall palette. That's why I wanted to show it to you guys. And BH Cosmetics is another website that does sales all the time. You need to just check out the sales that are happening on Black Friday and just grab it. The next and the last final category that I have to talk about is the best luxury palettes in my collection. Now, I would say the first brand that I have to recommend to you guys is Natasha Denona. And this is the first Natasha Denona palette that I have in my collection, and I cannot stop, okay? This is the Natasha Denona Coral palette, and I got it for a sale price. And the formulation is beautiful. It's just spectacular. I would say start with like 5-pan eyeshadows and then see how you like it. I love the mattes. And the shimmers are spectacular. I definitely would recommend you guys to try Natasha Denona. The next eyeshadow palette that I have to recommend is Tom Ford. Now, I won't recommend you to buy it, but definitely out of the small palettes, out of the luxury palettes that I have in my collection, this has the best formulation. And this is in the shade Nude Dip. Again, a beautiful cool tone palette. I love the formulation. I need to dip into this again for like winter season. I generally wear like cool tones in the winter season, and I'm waiting for winter to happen so that I can play with my nude dip again. I absolutely love the formulation of this. And the last, but certainly not least, the brand that I would definitely recommend you to try if you're looking into luxury palettes, it's Pat McGrath. And this is the Bronze Seduction palette. This is spectacular. Let me get this out of the packaging. If you guys have not seen this before, this is how the palette looks. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's absolutely wonderful. It's all thing goodness in a palette. This is like my color story and I love it. Her Blitz Astral formula is definitely special. But again, if you cannot invest in it, I would highly recommend JD Glow Shadows. But if you can, definitely go with Pat McGrath. I love the formula. I love the pigmentation. I love how weighty and luxurious it is. You feel that this is a luxury palette when you are playing with it. That's how much I love it. I absolutely love it. And I really hope that you guys enjoyed this eyeshadow palette video. And if you did like it, do give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell so that you're notified every time that I post next. I generally upload 3 videos every week, every Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturdays at 9 AM Eastern Standard Time. Until next time, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!